Hello, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for your interest in learning about Sutter Health System's focus on their patients and the heroes that support them every day. Show of hands, how many people are in healthcare here? That's a pretty good showing. And show of hands, how many people have consumed a healthcare service in the last 12 months? 12 minutes ago. All right, so pretty much everybody's in healthcare that's in here. My name is Dwight French, and I'm a principal in our global industry practice, focused mostly on healthcare. I've been working with Sutter Health for many years under different logos, and the last 3 years exclusively with Red Hat. My parents have both passed, but they were patients for Sutter. Myself, my wife, my 2 children are all consumers of healthcare services. And this is an account of mine that is very personal. I watched Sutter Health clinicians, nurses, many different caregivers provide some of the highest quality and compassionate care for my mom in her last days, which she passed about 5 years ago. So it's an honor for me to work with the IT professionals like Josh. Josh, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Dwight. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to tell Sutter's story to you guys. My name is Joshua Ham. I'm a 20-year veteran integration specialist, really. I've played all the different roles on the integration team over the 20-plus years that I've been there. Everything from support analyst to environment architect, and now I'm a data integration supervisor over a team of 12 developers. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to letting you guys hear the story of Sutter Health.
Cool, thanks, Josh. Sutter's story starts over 100 years ago as a response to the flu pandemic in 1918. They're a well-recognized integrated delivery health system. And they have a full range of services, and they're in the world's high-tech capital, Northern California, or at least we like to think that. I know there's probably lots of other people that think they have a higher tech place. And their services extend into the Central Valley, where much of the U.S. Food is grown and ready for distribution. They serve a diverse demographic, really kind of a microcosm of the diverse demographic that we see across the U.S. They have some of the wealthiest communities in the world to farm workers and pretty much everyone in between that they serve. They serve the largest Medicaid population in California, or as we in California like to call it, Medi-Cal, because again, we think everything is different and has to be named different. Approximately 46% of their population by revenue are seniors, and they have a large population of somewhat younger commercially insured. Last year, they served over 3 million people and are poised for growth with 12.5 million people living in the communities that they serve. And have an aggressive plan to grow their care delivery presence in each of those markets. Their growth aspirations will be challenged, however. They are tucked between 2 of the largest integrated health systems in the world, Kaiser Permanente and Common Spirit, and they have expansion plans of their own. So innovation is not optional for Sutter, and translating innovation into value for their patients and care delivery teams faster than ever is a mandate from their leadership team, headed up by Warner Thomas, who has recently joined Sutter Health from Ochsner System in Louisiana. To keep up, patient data, privacy, and security, data compliance, and data accuracy across multiple platforms will simply not be negotiable. Here's a spoiler alert. The protagonist in the story that Josh and I are going to tell prevails. However, the journey is not over. Josh? Take it from here. You got your...
Thank you very much, Dwight. So having an innovative mindset has been core to Sutter Health since its beginnings. You know, back in 1918, when it had to figure out a way to try to combat the Spanish flu, they built the Sutter Hospital Association, and they've done many things over the years to earn the America's Most Innovative Company Award that Fortune just gave them. And that one speaks to innovation, but without that award or without those innovations, all these other things wouldn't be able to be there either, like top 50 hospital and, patient safety excellence awards, so on and so forth. So who we are and what we do is it's important to identify the stakeholders that consume the data that we send to them. So 20 years ago, Sutter built an EICU system, and that was cutting edge, top of the line technology. But for that to work, and we'll go more into the EICU a little later, but for that to work, you've got to get a lot of data into that system. We have device data, the IoT section there. So when you're in the hospital and you're connected to a bed at the ICU, all those wires, those tubes, everything is feeding data into the data integration engine, which feeds the EICU system, it feeds our EHR, it feeds pretty much everything. And it's some of the most important data that you can have because it's how healthy you are at that moment. So getting that data across is crucial. And that data has tested our interface engine over the years as well because it's a lot of data and we've got to make sure that we have a system that can handle it. There's also other crucial systems that the data integration feeds. So, for example, our lab system, they are very quick to notice if our interface engine is down, usually within a few minutes. If they're not getting labs, they're on the phone to the service desk trying to get help. The data integration engine is the key piece for making different systems interoperable, making sure that the format that one system sends can be received by another. It also needs to be able to scale on a moment's notice. We get a sudden influx, maybe some major accident, natural disaster happens. A lot of patients start showing up at the hospital. It's got to be able to handle all that. Another thing that is key to the data integration engine is it can augment workflows. So if a source application can't handle enriching the data with maybe something from a database or something like that, we have that capability in the middleware to be able to help augment and improve the data. So I did tell you that we would go over the EICU. Here's a short video on our EICU system and kind of how it was came about.
20 years ago, we were facing significant challenges in meeting our commitment to provide the highest quality and safe care to our patients. Nationally, there were not enough pulmonary critical care physicians to be able to staff all our ICUs.
Smaller rural hospitals, they're more limited in their resources. They may not have a critical care physician every day of the week.
We really started to consider what we could do as an integrated health system to help support the critical care services in those smaller settings.
The idea here was, how can we centralize the staff and use technology to provide the same level of care remotely?
Hi, Dr. Stevens. It's Dr. Walker in the EICU.
Check his pulse ox. I'm a little bit concerned that there might be some artifact there.
Hi, this is Dr. Shaughnessy Cameron in. Let's keep an eye.
The EICU development was very multifaceted in its perspective, and it required very strong collaboration across many stakeholders.
We opened our EICU in the Valley in 2003. We were the first on the West Coast, and we were the second in the nation.
The EICU is an advanced monitoring system. It uses high-speed data transmission to stream to a central location to allow audio and video interactions with the bedside ICUs.
We have the ability to camera into every room to really evaluate the patients very closely. We can look at any of the changes on the monitors, on the ventilator settings, you name it, we can see it.
I went to the hospital March 2020. I was in coma 9 days. When they told me there were doctors in Sacramento, I can't believe it. I really appreciate all the doctors, nurses, and this new method they have, the telemedicine.
It was very challenging to get critical care physicians to places like Los Banos, where Rebecca received her care. For us to be able to camera in and help those physicians and those nurses in her community with her family really made a difference in her recovery.
I think the patients benefit the most. We decrease mortality. We also prevent complications from happening. And that decreases a patient's length of stay and gets them back to their families.
As a patient, you are being looked at from a 360 model. We monitor neuro patients, trauma patients, cardiac patients. We have to be well-versed on all fields and disciplines.
We are so proud of our EICU team members that are providing care to our local ICUs.
Looking back over the last 20 years has shown me how much we've accomplished, but I'm even more excited about the next 20 years.
Some of the innovative ideas that we are already working on include e-hospitalists, post-discharge clinic, virtual specialty consult, tele-stroke program, e-sitters, lung nodule screening program, and implantable device management.
It's been very exciting to be first on the West Coast and be part of expansion. It can only get better.
So, as you can see, the EICU shows Sutter's innovation spirit. And like I said, that was 20 years ago. And I did have an opportunity shortly after it was implemented to go and visit the EICU, the hub itself. And it was pretty awe-inspiring. There are monitors everywhere, buttons and switches and toggles and, cameras they can zoom in with. It looked like a NASA command center. And that, like I said, 20 years ago, I haven't been back since, but I can only imagine how much it's improved to this point. And you heard in the video them talking about some of the challenges that they needed to overcome. They needed to overcome the limited number of intensive care specialists and be able to get somebody on the, to work with the patient immediately and not wait for them to call back. Maybe they're out for dinner, whatever it is. They need somebody there now. And so they saw that and knew they had to innovate. Innovation was a requirement. And the patients are, like they said in the video, are the ones that benefit the most from this system. They're going home healthier. They're going home sooner. They're going home and able to spend their recovery time with their family, which no hospital can compete with the benefit of being able to recover at home. So data integration isn't just for those applications that have all the bells and whistles. It's also for what some might call low-tech systems, like dietary management. But I guarantee you, if you ask dietary management, they would say nothing low-tech about it. They have a lot to try to manage and deal with. And people don't think about it, to make sure that they don't serve you food that you're allergic to. Your allergy information has to get from the EHR to that system. So if there's a backlog of data and they don't have that, it's dangerous. They could serve you something that makes you worse than when you came in. If you need medications and they have to be taken with food, they need that order right away. You don't want to be sitting there waiting in pain and wondering, why isn't my meds here? And find out that it's because they couldn't get a sandwich delivered to you or something. And then there's specialty diet needs. When you come in for, say, a heart attack or diabetes, you need to be on a special diet, low sodium, low sugar, whatever it is. And the hidden things in your recovery process are crucial. So having a good meal is huge for recovering. But, so are making sure that the HVAC is at the right temperature and your environment's good. Being comfortable is crucial for your recovery. So like I said, a lot of people don't think about the low-tech stuff, but it is just as important as the high-tech stuff to make sure you recover. So now I'm going to go into our journey from an integration team side. So I've told you a little bit about Sutter's 20-year history. Now I'm going to talk about the last decade or so of Sutter Health and our journey in innovation with the data integration. So 2012, we realized we had risks. With all this new device data, we were getting really close to that threshold of how much data the integration engine could handle. And 2014, that's the turning point because we have to be off our old engine. It's being sunset. We have no choice. 2015, we set out on we find our new partner to start working with. 2020, the world as we knew it changed. Everybody knows what happened that year. 2021, we start looking into OpenShift, and now we're here today looking into the future. So before I go down deeper into each of those milestones, I want to make sure that everybody understands what the integration is, why it's so important, and what it does for Sutter. So a good integration engine, it gets the data into the tools that the clinical staff use to make the patients better. And for them to trust it, they need to know that we are delivering it accurately, that we guarantee delivery of those messages, they're in the proper order, that it is the most recent and most appropriate data to be making those decisions off of. It also facilitates interoperability. So in healthcare, HL7 a lot of times is known as the non-standard standard because it is very flexible. It's great because it's flexible, but it's also one of the drawbacks. A source system can tweak their HL7 messages just the way they want them because it has all the information they want to send. But a receiving system may not be able to take that data. So an integration engine has to be able to do that transformation and get that data into a format that the receiving system can handle. It needs to be scalable. I know I mentioned earlier, it needs to be able to scale up in a moment's notice. And yeah, you never know what that event is going to be or when that's going to happen. And you just need to be ready for it and have a system that can do that. So now let's start that journey. So 2012, we realized we were in trouble. We're reaching that throughput threshold that I was talking about with the device data and increased patient load. And so we knew we needed to get a better and faster system. The systems we're dealing with are fragmented and siloed. So we needed to make sure that we can maintain communication between them with the lowest latency possible, traversing different data centers. We needed an engine that was capable. There were cyber threats happening around that time. That's kind of when cyber threats really started peaking. There's several companies in the news that year that ended up getting hit with cyber attacks. And then natural disasters or unexpected events. 2012 was Hurricane Sandy. The Eastern Seaboard lost a bunch of data centers when the storm surge came on. And so being able to recover and be agile to address those unexpected events is very crucial, and that was one of our big concerns. So then 2014 comes. That's our turning point. Our legacy system is disappearing on us. But this was a perfect opportunity for us to find that next-gen solution that will get us take care of all of those concerns we had. And we did a search, checked out all the major players in the integration space. Most of them were very rigid, very closed source, and very closed systems. So if you needed something tweaked, they would only get it to you if it made them money. So we were also looking for something in the open source community, because if you need something, one, you can contribute. You can go out there and try to make it a better tool and not have to rely on what's going to make the company money. So 2015 comes around and we land on a decision. We went with Red Hat and JBoss Fuse. It was scary because we had a lot of new technology to learn. But one of the big things is with open source, you have a lot of resources. You have tons of YouTube videos on how to use different open source technologies. There's GitHub projects that you can use as examples. Red Hat actually put us in contact with some AMQ and Fabric experts. And I'm talking like the guys that wrote the books on it and all of that. They came out and helped us get our environment tuned. I was talking about needing to improve our threshold. On the legacy system, we were well below 100 messages per second per interface. With the working with Red Hat and the tuning, we were able to get our brokers to process over 1,000 messages per second per interface, that made us comfortable. We were happy with that. Right out of the box, it only did just over 100 or something like that, but that tuning was crucial. And it's a flexible tool. So we are able to actually implement a CI/CD system to make our developers' jobs easier. We took those development or CI/CD tools and deployed them in a way that it wasn't just for us, it was for the entire enterprise. And so we socialized, once we had it working and working for us, socialized out to the entire enterprise that we have these. And now our Jenkins instance is the enterprise instance of Jenkins, and GitHub is the enterprise instance, so on and so forth. So towards the end of, between 2015 and 2019, towards the end of that, we actually had everything all dialed in and ready to move on to our next hurdle, which is the DR solution. We were able to, within a year's time, and if anybody's tried making major changes in healthcare, a year's time is nothing. But yeah, within a year, we were able to sit down with Red Hat, conceptualize, and build our geodiverse data center DR solution. And we had our piece ready before even pretty much the infrastructure was ready for the other data centers. So we were ahead of the game, and a lot of that was from the work that we did with Red Hat. So now, 2019, we're ready for anything the world's ready to throw at us. Or were we? Well, luckily, the early innovations that Sutter did saved the day. In January of 2020, the EICU had just gone through an upgrade. It was ready to handle COVID. We were able to take 100 EICU carts and deploy them to 20 hospitals, and the engine didn't even bat an eye. It didn't even care that we had all this extra data flowing through. The throughput was ready to handle that load. And when COVID hit, there was a lot of regulatory updates that had to happen, and they wanted them quickly. Well, with the CI/CD solution out there, we were able to make fast code changes, be agile, update things on the fly. And so now we just keep looking into the future. We had extra time during 2020, oddly enough, with all those changes, and we were sent home to work from home. So a lot of innovation happens around the water cooler, and we lost that. So, but that didn't stop us. We continued to innovate. But yeah, we actually started our OpenShift journey in 2020. So with that, by getting OpenShift, we gained a lot of automation. The OpenShift system allowed for extra efficiencies to basically, if a container is dying, it'll spin a new one up. If it's getting overwhelmed, it'll spin additional ones up. Unfortunately, though, or maybe fortunately, we knew this platform was bigger than an integration engine, and we've always held the integration engine close. It was ours. You know, we didn't let other teams, you know, take it from us. But yeah, we knew this was bigger, so we had to socialize out and make an organizational shift in their mindset. And we were able to talk to our technical services team and get them to buy into owning the OpenShift system. So by them doing that, they're able to socialize it in ways that we couldn't as a data integration team. It's more of an enterprise solution now. So it basically, you know, made a good thing even better. And one of the biggest things with OpenShift is it got us that last mile of the CI/CD solution, which was those deployments. Previously, there was a lot of configuration that had to happen after something was deployed in Fuse 6. But with Fuse 7 on OpenShift, from creating the code template to the deployment, everything's automated, and yeah, developers are very happy. So now that OpenShift is in place, we have a digital fabric for Sutter Health. We have that consistent experience for developers on all the teams to be able to build and deploy things. OpenShift is built around standardized technologies, Kubernetes and Docker, et cetera, and it makes it to where everybody can be on the same page when they're deploying things. One other thing that OpenShift did give us is some crazy recovery times for our DR solution. With the initial DR solution we had for Fuse 6, it was hours to get something recovered. With OpenShift, we measure it in minutes. If we need to fail over from one data center to another, it's under an hour. And no data loss for planned outages. Unplanned, there's very limited, you know, maybe a second or a few seconds of potential data loss. And we can run wherever we need it. Workload portability, we can put it out on the cloud. We can put it, and it follows the same DR solution to move it from one place to another. So it's within hours I could have my entire instance, or within under an hour, have it all running out in the cloud. So with that, now we're ready for the future, so I'm going to hand it over to Dwight.
Thank you, Josh. So as I said in the beginning, the journey is not over. The innovation and capabilities that the integration team have produced is a solid foundation for continued transformation within the organization. I just want to make a special note here. You know, oftentimes integration teams aren't thought of as the most sexiest department within any company, including the hospital. But I can tell you, after really observing what's been going on in the last 3 years and learning about what happened in the 7 years before I was really embedded, real innovation. I mean, when we think about the keynote presentation this morning, where everything that we're doing is all talking about helping our customers do more with less. It's all about putting throughput the organization. That is a people, process, and technology problem to solve. And that happened out of the integration team. So any department within the organization can tap into innovation and spread it throughout the enterprise. And that's what we're starting to see happen at Sutter. So Sutter's leadership team, they've set the vision for growth. The continued advancement of operational efficiency, some of what Josh talked about, throughout driving top-line revenue growth is the direction. everybody in the organization is being headed in that direction. And if you're in healthcare, you know what devastation the pandemic did to everybody's revenue stream. And that is the revenue, that's the juice that allows you to deliver on your mission, right? Your mission to your patients, your mission to your members, your mission to your caregivers. So no margin, no mission. Included in that direction is an initiative such as the digital front door. For any consumer-focused access initiative, you first need to understand your patient's needs as individuals, as a relationship with the integrated system, right? With the folks that are providing those services. You need a 360-degree longitudinal view of that patient. Not just the medical record, but also the SDOH, right? A complete 360-degree view. You need to navigate services by need, not organizational structure. For example, using natural language search by symptom and an AI concierge. Full service is built without variation. A search engine has extension of site, video visit, on demand, business and portable preferences that remember me across my devices. Does this stuff sound familiar? These are the kind of things we have in everyday life. Do you have it with your health system? No. This is where Sutter is really their opportunity to continue their culture of innovation. But how will Sutter deliver on that vision at the pace that the consumers demand? We're all consumers, right? We're consumers of Amazon, we're consumers of Netflix, and we're also a consumer of services. We expect that kind of response. That's what's going on inside of healthcare right now. And that's what Sutter's opportunity, challenge and opportunity is. So Red has been working in the trenches with our customers since Kubernetes and modern open source tools were conceived, as we heard this morning, talk about the last 10 years. We've been in the trenches. So as those tools have been coming out, we've been down working with our customers and learning with them. We've gone through the struggle with them of restructuring teams across siloed department lines, adapting processes and ways of working that produce the flow and acceleration of innovation to value for their customers. We've learned how to help our customers develop high-performing organizations with flow as a focal point. This doesn't happen overnight. It is hard work, and Josh can tell you, and his team that's here can tell you, it is hard work. It's in the trenches. But as we heard this morning, it takes consistency as well. But how do we get started? So just like the wheels of a drag racing car, motion starts when the driver hits the gas, right? The friction is happening with the rubber bouncing off of the asphalt. The wheel begins to find traction, right? Then with forward momentum begins. In platforming vernacular, right, this is the reuse of data, processes, workflows that Josh was talking about, that community that started to be built, right, around it. A lot of what we've observed Sutter do is very open source. It's very open organization, right? And I think the other thing that they've figured out is when you focus on flow, right, that's where innovation starts to go through the organization. And so now it's not just one project, one app at a time, right? It's lots of them going forward. And that's the pace that we have to keep up with our patients and our caregivers now. So a holistic vision of an adaptable agile platform is needed to achieve the vision of flow and avoid re-engineering the entire IT landscape every 5 years. This means focus on people and process as much as the technology, if not more. This is the foundation that Josh talked about. So going forward, Sutter is working to decrease process friction and toil. They want to make the process of accomplishing anything as lean and elegant as possible. Increasing their ability to change quickly. Talked a lot about adaptability. We know there's viruses out there. There's going to be another disaster, right? We have disruption in healthcare. Big box retail, big tech, everybody's coming in to disrupt the way that we provide services to our patients. We have to be able to adapt. Increase workflow visibility so that we can create as many communication channels and multidimensional feedback loops as possible so that that knowledge and techniques are shared. The integration engine team have made a great start. They've laid a foundation. Now it's got to take off like a spark in a field in a wildfire. So when the tools that Josh described are implemented together with process change, skill uplift. There was a lot of learning. There was a lot of skill uplift during this process. Platforms become socio-technical and produce the flow of ideas to value. If you've been around Red Hat very long, and if you've been here for a day, you've probably heard us talk about open source, right? And those words mean many things depending on the context of the conversation. When I hear those words, I hear collaboration, I hear transparency, I hear meritocracy, some of the principles that power open organizations. So beyond the software that we've provided in this partnership, really it's that organizational principles, I think, that have worn off on our customers. And we think this is as important as the software that we build to help facilitate that transformation towards a digital business, a software business. So these are just a few of the reusable capabilities that the integration team has developed that Josh talked about. Removing human intervention through automation, leveraging modern hybrid cloud technologies for workload portability with a single click, and the recommenting built into operators, as well as other automation. So patching the platform with automation, removing potential for human error, and freeing up capacity to work on things that matter to the business, which is the patients, the clinicians. What if the same automation could provision environments with the same level of ease? This would create ephemeral environments that could be blown away and created in the matter of minutes. What would that capability look like in a developer's world? It would enable developers to focus on developing and not having to wait 6 weeks for an environment build before developing. It would lower hardware cost, and it would truly enable continuous integration and a development culture. These are some of the opportunities that Sutter has sitting in front of them to continue what the integration team has already started. What was built by the integration team really is an innovation engine, a platform. The problem is not technology. The problem is not people. The problem is socio-technical, and both have to be solved together. Capabilities that were developed now are the ones that need to be developed to hit the business mandates from the senior leadership team. They're on their way to becoming a product-focused organization instead of a project-focused organization, where every project is creating IT debt. We wonder where all that IT debt came from. It came from decades of building monolithic architectures and systems. From delivery on technology to delivering a digital product that has a high-quality user experience. Focus on flow that aligns value delivery to their patients and their care teams. That's the real transformation that's in front of Sutter Health right now. The way you do that is a transition from a tech-focused to an end-user product-focused organization. A world-class user experience is the goal, and nothing will stop them from doing that. In order to do this, we have to have platforms focused on developers. Developers focused on product. Product being the voice of the customer, the voice of the patient, the voice of the care teams, the people that we serve. And a product attuned to the stakeholder that is aligned with the objectives of the entire business. No margin, no mission. This platform vision not only enables the ongoing efficiency everyone wants, but allows the organization to more easily pivot to capture value from new business opportunities or the unthinkable, another virus. If the pandemic taught us anything, it taught us that we can't rely on the status quo forever. If you want to know how companies like Google, Amazon, Netflix transform their business platforms to achieve unprecedented scale, just think about where those organizations were a decade ago, right? And now, unprecedented scale, everybody in the globe is consuming their services. They started by focusing on their customers first. Then they accelerated flow through their organization, and they built socio-technical platforms. That's our opportunity in healthcare, to do the same exact thing, except now the patients are our friends, they're our family, the people that depend upon those healthcare services. This is a journey that Sutter Health is on, and how they were able to deliver for their patients and caregivers through many challenges that Josh talked about. So we got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to cut this a little bit short, but these are some of the really innovative applications that Sutter has put out recently. Serving teens. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young adults between 15 and 23. Born out of the pandemic, a virtual primary care first. 90% of the services are done virtually. Symptom checker, right? Something like 60% of the use of it is done after hours. It not only provides a self-service that's meaningful for the patient, but it also activates them in their own health, right? We need everybody to engage and activate in their own health. The thing is, these platforms weren't developed on that platform, right? So this innovation can create more IT debt. The opportunity now is to take these applications, because now what they have to consider is day two operation. Now they have to consider continued innovation going forward, right? Put all of those applications and innovations on this platform and focus on flow. And now we can meet the demands of the pace of the consumers that is being required. So we hope this story offered some insights, some inspirations that you guys can take back to your companies and start your own innovation no matter where you are within your healthcare organization. And at that, we'll turn it over to questions and see if there's, and if there are any questions, we just love to hear kind of what you guys are doing around innovation. And let's turn this into a community of practice and see if we can learn something from you guys as well. Good. I was going to start calling on people, so thank you for that.
This is actually just a question related to the Fuse migration. Mm-hmm. So when you went from Fuse 6 to Fuse 7 and on OpenShift, did you have to re-architecture, redesign pieces of it, or was it more lift and shift?
It was designed where it could have been lifted in just a lift and shift, but we used that opportunity to get rid of a lot of technical debt. We did rewrite a lot of the code to make it more streamlined and more efficient. But yeah, we had everything in basically J2EE compliant, so it was able to be lifted and shifted if we needed to. So on the Sutter side for data security, one, OpenShift, has various levels of security. The isolation of the containers and all of that provides a layer of security. And as far as when we do start using the cloud for something like our integration engine, I know our security team doesn't want us. they fight tooth and nail. They're like, okay, anything cloud, no. But the mindset of our current leadership is that of, okay, we need to get things into the cloud for stability purposes and whatnot. So they're working with the security team to make sure that whatever needs to be in place is put out there. Yeah, so on the integration side, everything got deployed into OpenShift, but a lot of our apps that connect to it, those are still on-prem physical machines. Yeah. Our Kafka instance is in OpenShift. We're using the Kafka operator, which is a great help. It does all kinds of really good things with management of it, upgrades, getting our topics defined, and we retain 4 days worth of data for replay purposes. Say an application goes down and we need to replay messages back to them. That's something we didn't have with our old engine. We couldn't replay messages. Now we can be, and with the streaming technology of Kafka, it makes it so easy too. You just reset the index and play away.
Helping the customer similar journey from EAP6 to OpenShift, and one of the things is convincing the infrastructure team because they need to take on that responsibility. Sounds like you've been very successful. How did you get there?
A lot of stubbornness. No, when we first presented it to them, they were kind of the original mindset that we were, that, oh no, OpenShift is an interface engine. No, we don't want to manage that. But we had to show them use cases and, display for them what the benefit is, and that they're at a better location to be able to broadcast and socialize that down to the rest of the organization. Yeah.
You brought up HL7. Do you have any developers jumping in on your op, or did you spin that all up like you did?
Can you rephrase the question? Sorry.
We did got in compliance with HL7 with Fire version 4 and Matrix Network. That was a fun experience, since you alluded to the whole Fire standard in HL7. I'm wondering, how did you guys deploy it as part of the interop requirement for developers to be able to launch and use data? Are you having anybody even use it?
Yeah, so on the Fire side of HL7, since we use Epic as our EHR system, they have Fire baked in, and they have an app store that places like Apple Health and Fitbit or whoever else can register their apps with. And so we are getting a lot of those types of apps being created, and it took probably, we've had Fire in place for probably 5 years now, and there might have been 1 or 2 apps at the beginning, but now it's really starting to pick up steam. Yeah.
Hi, our hospital is just getting started with OpenShift, and I'd be interested in networking, collaborating with anyone else in healthcare that's using OpenShift.
What hospital are you with? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, well, let's connect. I'd love to get you kind of hooked up, but I think, what's starting to happen, I think, inside of Sutter is this, community. But I think we would love to just be facilitators to get that community extended out, because we're all in this together, right?
Is there an existing community for OpenShift healthcare admins already?
Yes, through Red Hat, we have a community for providers and for health plans. But when it gets down to the subject level, like integration, we don't really have anything like that. But I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a great opportunity, because we've got lots of customers, and I think where there can be some collaboration and connection, we'd love to be able to put that together. And that's part of what we do for our customers, is we set up COPs. We haven't done it yet with Sutter, but we would like to. But we've got other customers on the West Coast that we come in and actually help them kind of put the foundation down, and then at that point they kind of take it from themselves. But that's something that we would love to talk to you about, is setting up kind of a COP that goes across health entity lines.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Hi, are you exploring or perhaps even using some of the more modern flavors like Camel campaign?
Yeah, we actually, when we were converting our code, that was one of the things that we implemented, was the Spring Boot side of things. And so, yeah, we're using Camel Spring Boot. We're looking at, now that everything's in place, possibly seeing which ones would benefit from Quarkus and convert those route builders into that as well. But we haven't done any of the Quarkus yet. We've prototyped it, but yeah. Anybody else? Nope. Well, thank you very much.